What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Tyrant 10. I am Mike, and this is where we bring you something in the 2A community, whether it's news or parts related, in 10 minutes or less. On the menu today, we've got two things, some of which is going to be news, the other which is, of course, going to be some cool parts related things. So let's go ahead and get the news out of the way first, because it is definitely not good and it's not cool. If you didn't pay attention, two bills, not just one, have made it through the House to Senate, and they're going to get signed into law that are not 2A friendly at all. They have to do with background checks and person-to-person sales and possibly some form of backdoor registry. Now, I hate to start off that way, but the shitty news is gone. Let's talk about building it and having it your way, like this build right here. If you have not been paying attention for the past probably 3 to 5 years with the whole home build or even just customization stuff, whether it's a pistol or a rifle, everything from Glock to HK to CZ, there are parts out there for just about anything to build it and have it your way. Now, what I want to talk about is if you're going to build something from the ground up like this P80 frame right here, which you can obviously see has a ton of custom stuff on it, there are some things you need to pay attention to, and you may want to start with certain parts over others. Or maybe you are just building a factory frame from the ground up, or maybe you just want to add a couple of things maybe that are a little bit for performance and a little bit for personalization. Now, I know for me, I grew up building hot rods with my father, and it was one of the most fun experiences of my life. But doing that came a ton of customization. Everything from paint colors to how much chrome to how much polished billet aluminum to the custom interiors, big engines, big turbos, blower kits, exhaust systems, anything you can think of to make that stand out in the car show from the one sitting next to it. Now, I know there are some people out there that look at these and kind of hate on them. They think, well, that's Gucci. Well, if it's Gucci, it doesn't matter as long as you can run it. It's like the first time you show up to a competition. You need to be able to run what you have, no matter what it looks like, how Gucci, how not Gucci. Otherwise, you're pretty much gonna get embarrassed by 9-year-old girls with pink guns and 90-year-old men with 1911s. Because we all know 2 world wars. Now, when it comes to adding stuff to your pistol or your rifle, whether it's a fresh build or whether it is a factory frame, there are a couple places where I like to start. And 2 of those are gonna be right here, either with the magazine release or the slide stop slide release. Now, these ones are both from Tyrant. I've had these for a long time, and they did send these out to me, I wanna say about 1.5 years ago to play around with. Now, the reason I start with those 2 parts specifically is they're generally very budget friendly, and they generally don't cause any tolerance stacking or malfunctions out there once you get everything running out there on the range. Now, after adding those either to your existing Glock or M&P or CZ, you might wanna move into some other things, and that's where you start getting into like mag wells and triggers, or any other offering out there from barrels to connectors to really add that bit of performance. The second reason I add those 2 first is because it is a performance addition over a great many factory setups out there. The reason I say it's a performance improvement because an extended magazine release can help you get the magazine out of there just a little bit faster because it's a little bit extended, not too much, but it has a ton more texture than most factory magazine releases do. Now, as far as that slide stop slide release goes, if you're like me and when you do an empty gun reload, you index and then you come on the slide stop slide release to get that thing into battery, having a little bit of an extension with a little bit more tread on it can help you get that thing done and back into the game a little bit faster. And of course, we all know that some striker fired platforms do not have great triggers from the factory, so you can definitely look into that route as well. There are a couple of things you need to pay attention to, whether you're doing a build or a factory frame or anything like that, one of which is gonna be tolerance stacking. Now, if you don't know what tolerance stacking is, it's basically when you add so many different aftermarket parts from maybe so many different manufacturers that have a different tolerance level, you can get and induce malfunctions. Maybe the barrel is too oversized, maybe the slide isn't sized right. You need to pay attention to that. But these days, with a reputable manufacturer, there are enough testers out there like myself who have pretty much put these parts through the gamut of testing long enough that you can pretty much figure out what is gonna work together and what is not gonna work together. Now, the other thing you need to pay attention to is whatever you're adding to this, you need to be able to run it. Looks aren't everything. Although it may look very cool, if you can't manipulate the tool in your hand, you're not gonna look very cool out there on the range. I know for myself personally, anytime I'm adding these bits and pieces, I do a lot of dry practice in the house, and then I will either have that stuff on there my next range trip or my next training class that I go to, to really make sure that I'm dialed in with those little pieces or parts that I've added to my pistol, especially if it's a self-defense setup. But either way, you can have it your way like Burger King. You can build this thing any way you want to please your desires, your needs, no matter what anybody out there that's a hater says. And to reference a bad 90s infomercial, I'm not only a Gucci gun spokesman, I'm also a member. Now, if you remember where that came from, definitely leave us a comment down below. It had to do with hair and the loss thereof. I hope you guys enjoyed this installment of the Tyrant 10. I hope you enjoyed seeing one of my little custom honeys right there. This is literally one of my favorite builds. It's a couple years old now, but every time I look at it, I just get a smile on my face. And some of you may be into the more Gucci-esque builds, and some of you may not be. And either way, that's okay, because you get to have it your way. And this is mine, so I can build it any way I want. You guys get out there and have some fun on the range. Make sure you are attending some training and doing some practice. I will see you guys all on the next time we're here for the Tyrant 10.